Hello. On this episode, I chat to first-time farmer Sophie Gregory, an Arla milk supplier based in the Southwest. Listen on to hear how she juggles family life, running a business, and smashing it in the world of food and farming. Welcome to the Countryside Kitchen Meets, a food and farming podcast. I'm Milly Fyfe, your host. I'm a mum of two, farmer's wife, food producer, and passionate about flying the flag for British food and farming. Today, we'll be chatting to first-time farmer Sophie Gregory. Then I've got a few time-saving hacks when it comes to mealtime preparation, meaning you can juggle family life with the children and cook a tasty, nutritious meal too. Okay, let's introduce you to my guest. Situated at home farm in the southwest of England, Sophie Gregory and her partner milk 370 cows, which calve in the spring and autumn using a mixture of Friesians, Jerseys and Shorthorns bred for longevity, milk solids, which is fat and protein for cheese production, and their ability to convert grass into milk without needing lots of concentrated food. Each year, the cows produce around 2 million litres of milk and supply Arla, which is a farmer-owned cooperative, which Sophie sits on the board of. Sophie is a mum of three children and was awarded the Dairy Industry Women of the Year award in 2021. What a fantastic ambassador you are, Sophie. Welcome to the podcast. Hello, how are you?
Oh, thank you, Milly. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for asking me. I'm quite well, tired as always, but well. How are you?
Yeah, good. So what time of day do you get up in the morning? What does your day start like?
So it's about 4:30, depending on where on the farm the cows are. They're still out grazing at the moment. So they're about half an hour walk from the farm today. So I got off about 4:30, went and got them from the field. And then my husband, Tom, started the parlour while they were walking up. I was just following them up. So yeah, about 4:30 most mornings.
How do you do it? I mean, do the children get up with you, or do you leave them in bed and, just sort of spin the plates? How do you manage?
They're quite good sleepers. So I've got a 13-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And the 13-year-old is very hard to get out of bed now, so he's definitely asleep. The 4-year-old's a good sleeper now, and the 10-year-old too. So I know they stay in the house. The parlour is right next to the house, so I'm pretty lucky in that respect. But when I come in for breakfast, I'm normally dragging them out of bed.
Yeah. Oh, it's good that way, and they're not sort of trying to get out of bed at 4:30 as well, and then you've got tired children later in the day. Oh, yeah, but
nothing worse.
But then you must be tired as well.
Yeah, I do. I do live off tea. It's actually I've only just started drinking tea about maybe a year ago, and I'm not sure how I coped before that. Yeah. I sort of went off it when I was pregnant and then sort of never went back to it. And I just, about a year ago started drinking it, and I now can't get enough of tea. So that keeps me going. But I think I am that kind of person I do better in the mornings anyway. But I am exhausted by sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock.
It's one thing. I'm not a morning person at all. I'm more of a night owl. So the sort of thought of getting up at 4:30 every day is just, I just couldn't do it. And there's probably a lot of people listening as well that probably thinking, blinking heck, you get up at that time and then you've sort of done a morning's work before anyone else has actually got up, which probably can feel quite rewarding in some senses, but then like you say, it can be exhausting at the same time.
Yeah. I do love that. I actually, that's a really good point, because that's something I really love, is that especially in the summer, that it's light when I'm getting up and I can be in and take my kids to school, because that's one of the reasons that I kind of came back to the farm originally, was that my old job wasn't very flexible. So I'm now able to sort of get a good 3 hours working before the school run, which just means that I can take them to school, which is really nice. I know that's a real luxury, and I know I'm really lucky, but I'm quite happy to take the tiredness to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's not always going to be like that, because as they get older, they'll get a little bit more independent as well. So
definitely.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get involved in farming? Tell me a bit about your backstory.
Met Tom when I was 16, 17 at Glastonbury Festival, my husband. And then I actually had a baby at 18 on my gap year, which is a bit of a shock. And then I trained as an accountant. Basically, it was something that I'm quite good at maths, and I quite like solving problems. So I trained as an accountant, and did that alongside having Harry and then Evie, my middle one. And then I worked at a rural accountancy firm. So they specialise in farm accounts. And then my husband had always wanted to go back to dairy farming. His dad had come out when he was 10. So we were sort of looking for opportunities, because there was no family farm really that would come to us. And so, yeah, in 2014, we went into partnership with another guy who we were already in business with, to take on home farm. So I was really, when Tom said he wanted to go dairy farming, I was like, you're mad. No way. Absolutely not. Like, we're not investing our life savings into cows. No way.
Yeah.
And he was earning quite good money doing what he was originally, which is cattle foot trimming, which is like a farrier for cows. And, you know, we had a really sort of not easy lifestyle, but you know, it was a known lifestyle, if that makes sense. So it was a real risk taking on the farm, but it has been amazing. So I didn't originally start helping on the farm. Probably 6 months in, I sort of thought, actually, I really love this. I'm going to throw myself at this. Yeah. So I then, you know, it became quite quick that I became full time on the farm. We had had Harry and Evie then, and then 4 years ago I had Cecily, our youngest.
Yeah. And so your sort of numbers accountancy background, that's obviously been probably a huge asset in terms of looking at the fine details when it comes to running a farming business.
Definitely. I mean, with farming, margins are so tight that you really have to be on it with the numbers. And also, like, you know, getting a price for everything, you just have to be on those things. And also that helps me with my board stuff, because I can look at things in a financial way that it's super useful. And I suppose farming although it is a lifestyle, it has to be a business to be sustainable. Like, we have to make money to be able to we're fully tenanted. None of this is owned by us. So we've got rents and, you know, good rents to pay, that it needs to be sustainable in that sense.
Yeah, and you're always looking to the future and being able to plan for that, whether or not it's putting inputs on the grass, looking at the health of the cows, looking at your replacements, all those sorts of things that I suppose perhaps aren't taken for granted, but actually when you look at it in a business head, with a business head on, that's exactly what you have to do. And although, you know, it's really, really nice to have that sort of close relationship with your livestock, or whatever it is that you farm, at the end of the day, it is a farm business, and you are, you know, you've got contracts to fulfill as well. And so important. And so as a Arla dairy farmer, what do you produce? Obviously it's probably obvious, but actually could you just talk a little bit about talk a bit about what you produce?
So Arla is like you said, Milly, a farmer owned cooperative, which is, it's quite, I suppose, a quite unique position to be in, is that we all share part of the business. So we all own part of it. So as well as our milk price, we get a 13th payment depending on how well the business is done. And Arla produces products, like they've got a lot of branded products from Lurpak, Anchor, Cravendale, Bob Milk, Skier, like lots of things. We're actually organic, so our milk doesn't go into those ones. Our biggest buyer of milk is McDonald's. About 60% goes into McDonald's, which actually people don't realise, but the teas and coffees is all organic milk. And then a lot goes into under the Year Valley brand. So they're like fresh milk, butter, cheese, all of that. And then some would go into like own brand, if like a supermarket wanted their own brand organic product, then they would buy it through the cooperative. So, you know, it's a really, if you're buying sort of those sort of brands, that some of that money's going back directly to the farmer, which is an amazing concept. And it just means that we're all driving for the same thing, like a strong milk price with a good return. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to be with Arla in the first place, is always a fair milk price. That makes sense. It might always be the highest. It's very good at the moment. You know, it has to be, the costs of you know, gone out, not out of control, but they are high because of feed and things. But so it's kept up. They did a lot of investing in brands about 5 years ago, and it's starting to pay off now, which is really good.
Well, that's fantastic, because I mean, you know, it is something that hits the headlines quite often, is the price of milk, and as a commodity, you know, when you go into a supermarket and something is the real value, isn't it, that actually you buy a bottle of water and it's actually more expensive than a bottle of milk, but actually you know, what is the time that goes into producing it and all the behind the scenes stuff, it needs to be more valued as rather than a kind of loss leader in the supermarket. So and all the sort of added value products now, I mean, I'm on a funny sort of diet at the moment and I have to have lactose free milk, but Arla are great because they do a lacto milk, they do lactose free cheese, and you know, all of that. And I think sort of the companies like that are really looking at kind of all the extra markets, not just making one thing and saying, right, here you go. It's sort of, and then looking at developing or involving farmers around the country in their plans and things, which is great, because I think a lot of others perhaps don't do so much, and then are perhaps not so successful. So it's great to hear. And do you have any diversification projects on the farm?
So we've got we're involved in 2 bell tents, which our landlord has at the other farm. So we run across 2 sites, and one has 2 bell tents, which I help with. They're going to sort of expand that a bit more, which I probably won't. They then will probably need to employ someone full time, which is not something that I'd want to do. And then we have White Park cattle, which are like big. They've got huge, big horns. They're a rare breed. There's only 950 of them in the UK. And they are on a sort of nature restoration project. It's called rewilding, but it's basically our landlord's taken some land that wasn't productive at all and put it back to nature. And so we just keep the animal. We've got the grass keep on it for peppercorn rent, but they stipulate how many animals, and they're used for beef. So you sort of kill them at 3 rather than 2, no concentrates fed, and they just browse all year round, don't come in the winter. So that's our diversification. Something I really want to do long term, and probably in the next couple of years, is do some cheese. Something I really want to do. I've just always wanted to do something specific with our product, like with our milk. I still want to sell to Arla. Still want that to be the main thing, because I really believe in the cooperative structure. But I would really like to have a small sideline cheese, you know, just something that we'd enjoy, and it'd be nice to be able to give to people, and just all of those things. And
then you could do agricultural shows or things like that, and sell from the farm gate and things. I think projects like that can really grow legs, and you can fly, because I think what people always invest in is the person behind the brand or the backstory and things like that, and also being able to work with the cows, and then have a better understanding of the composition of milk and what flavor in the cheese and things like that. So I think that sounds really, really exciting, and I'm sure someone like Arla would sort of, I don't know, invest in you or help support you. I mean, there's other grants available, I know, to help with those. I know the government have been distributing various grants, haven't they? And I'm sure there's probably local ones you could get. But so definitely watch this space. That sounds really exciting. And with the White Park cattle then, so obviously they're going to beef. Are you doing them into beef boxes, or are you supplying someone locally?
So I think we've got a really good restaurant locally, Brassica, which does amazing food, and we've sent animals before from the dairy that we've fattened to them, and we keep a couple a year, and they have some of our meat, so they probably will have some of it. And then we just do quite a bit of mince, and then just friends want to buy, and then we will do a few beef boxes. I think there's probably only going to be 2 animals a year, so it's not a lot of meat that we'll be selling, but long term it might be something bigger. And I just definitely direct to customer, just because it's such a high quality product. I think it would sort of get lost in with other stuff which hasn't been reared for so long, if we didn't. But I'm excited, and I think the estate as a whole is it's got a really good brand anyway, so I think selling it through them long term would be a great thing.
Again, there's a really good story to tell there, and I think when you're then putting it on a menu or something, you're saying that it's sort of locally reared, locally produced, and low food mile sustainability. It all ticks the right boxes, doesn't it? And it's good that you're getting a premium for that product as well, because the sort of one. Well, it's not a downside, but obviously with producing on that system, you're obviously rearing them for a lot longer, aren't you? And although they're sort of browsing unproductive land, you still got to take care
them,
of them, you know,
yeah.
so there has that sort of added cost, and also the risk with animal disease and animal health and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's good to hear that you've got that, and you've got a good market, and presumably in your area as well, because there's a lot of tourism, that will have a part to play, I think, in the future, especially if you're going to do cheese.
Yeah, I hope so. I think there's a really, especially like Bridport, we're quite near Bridport's got a really good farmers market, and it's just a real foodie place, some really nice restaurants and stuff there. So I think, and Lyme Regis, like they've got some great, that's just down the road, they've got some great restaurants there too. So it's just being sort of part of a area which produces great food will make it easier when we manage to do something ourselves.
Yeah, you'll have to start applying for some of these awards as well, because there's like the Southwest Farmer Award and the Food and Farming. You'll have to start putting some of your products forwards, and then that will really, you know, help sort of endorse what you're doing. How do you fit everything in around raising your 3 children? Because you obviously said you get up early and do your work before they go to school and things, but obviously it's like school holidays and when they're ill, you know, how do you do it?
I think the biggest thing is that I'm not afraid to ask for help, which would be so I've got when Cecily, the youngest, goes to a childminder 3 days a week, which she loves, and she does all her arts and crafts and all of that stuff there, and I don't feel guilty about that at all. My older 2 are at school till quite late, just they do activities and stuff at school, so they don't come home till 5:45. So they have long school days, but in the holidays I suppose they're a bit older, and they are so lucky, they have so much space here. They can go off, I don't have to entertain them as such, but they can be on the farm. But when they're ill, at least I'm at home, even though I need to work, they can be with me. That's the flexibility of working for yourself. I think I would really struggle to go into an office and work now. But meal wise, the Arga is my best friend. I often in the winter will make, when we're having breakfast, I'll be making something for supper that's just going to go in low and slow all day, and just like I probably double up on portions, and then Tom often will eat it for lunch, if that makes sense. So and we've got like everyone comes in for breakfast, so there's always like food around. And then I think I've just lowered expectations. Like my house is pretty messy, but it's fun, and it's there's full of people always, and I just much rather than remember it like that than it pristine. That's how I cope, is that I've lowered expectations, definitely, and learning to say no to things that really you don't want to do. So I'm not so good at that yet, but my dad's amazing. He's retired, and he comes in the summer, not so much, but he in the winter he'll come every other week, and he'll help me with school runs and things like that. If I'm away on board stuff, because I can with Arla be away. I've been in Denmark twice recently, and then up to Leeds, and then my dad comes that week always, and he'll do the school runs. So because Tom just can't fit all of that in with the cows. I definitely haven't got the work-life balance work right but I feel like
many of us have.
No, I kind of feel a bit like it doesn't feel like work, so I don't feel bad, if that makes sense. It's not like it doesn't feel like work if that makes sense.
Well, you're obviously doing exactly what you need to be doing. You do what you love, and that's the secret to success, I think, in happiness in life, is finding something that you love doing, and it never feels like a chore or a job, does it? No, I feel exactly the same, in the sense that working for myself and being around and supporting my husband on the farm, and the children are completely embroiled in the farm life, but actually they go to holiday club and at preschool and things as well, and it's just it's
take that guilt away.
But
definitely you just have to take that guilt,
definitely, but also allowing them to be a little bit feral, or it's not sort of living up to those expectations and what have you. It's kind of like children have survived on farms for generations, they're not having to kind of live to routine all the time. So there's some great take-home messages for people listening. But what does the future look like for you? You've obviously sort of alluded to a few things with cheese and future plans, but is there anything else that's sort of burning desire, or you're just sort of looking at keeping the number of cows that you have, or what's the future?
I think because we're sort of share farm with a business partner, I think long term, obviously we want to be tenants in our own right. we have the tenancy on one half of the farm and then he has the other. So I think making a plan and making it secure for 10 years is our thing at the moment. That's being discussed at the moment. So we're getting that signed up, and things will give me a bit more headspace to be able to focus on what I want. I just want to keep doing the farm, and as long as I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it. I want probably to do a bit more comm stuff that I do quite a bit with Arla, with like promoting Arla as a brand, but I would probably like to do a bit more of that. And whether I develop that through being on the board, or whether it involves another board job, I don't know. I like being able to have that balance between being fully immersed in the farm, but also being able to, go away for, like, I'm away for a night and a day tonight and tomorrow, and using that part of my brain. Just keeps me fresh on the farm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're working with other professional people as well that are doing different things, and you're picking up different skills, but also, I mean, communicating that field to fork message, what you're doing at home, connecting with consumers. It's so important. And I guess with being recognised as the sort of dairy women in industry women of the year, I think I was on the did you get awarded it? And it was during COVID, and we all had to cite, so it's the Women in Dairy conference, wasn't it? And we all had to, so I remember watching, because I won a prize for one of the best tweets, because I had the kids at home. And I got them.
You?
So we made Play-Doh cows, because I had the kids in the room with me, so I got the Play-Doh out and we were making Play-Doh cows, so I took a photo of it, so I won the competition during the conference.
That's so cool.
But I remember you being awarded, because it was stiff competition, wasn't it? There was 2 or 3 other women that I mean, it's amazing to see how that organization has grown and what you're all doing, being fantastic ambassadors for women in dairy.
Oh, I know, definitely. And I it's been a really nice environment to be able to ask questions that that maybe you couldn't ask in other groups, if that makes sense. Like, is everyone, you just always feel so welcome, and like you can bring kids with you, or like there's no restrictions on being able to come, that they, if you want to come for half an hour, they're very welcoming. And also it's good to meet other local women in the area. I go to flip between Dorset and Somerset, because where we live, we're right on the border, so I get sort of get access to a few of them. And actually, I'm going to be judging this year's.
Fantastic.
I know. I'm a bit nervous about that. No pressure.
Brilliant, because that must be quite soon. I think they
it is soon. Yeah, I don't want to give up my crown.
No,
I don't think I have to give it up. I think I still get to keep it, but it'll be great to have the next through.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's just talk about cooking. Do you enjoy cooking? You've nodded at, you've given me a signal about the use of your Arga, but what are your go-to meals or recipes that you enjoy cooking?
I think spaghetti bolognese, anything mince-based, so bolognese, lasagna, what else do we have, like chili, like anything like that is my go-to. Or I do a tomato sauce, pasta sauce, quite a lot, because I can get it all in and then cook it for like 12 hours maybe, and then it's ready to go, it's warm. And then sometimes we chuck the pasta in. One of the best hacks I learned recently was chucking the pasta in the sauce, as long as it's watery enough, and then just having a whole meal there and not having to even turn the hot plate on. Because our Arga, we had it converted so that it's the lower electric, because it's so expensive to run, so I have to turn the hot plates on for it. So I'm just learning to use the Arga in a different way. But chucking dry pasta in is amazing. I mean, jacket potatoes is so great in the Arga. Toast. But my kids, what I always remember, at the weekends we probably eat a bit more, bit fancier stuff, but in the week they've all had cooked meals, so I just always remember that we often will have a cooked meal. But if I need to just give them like beans on toast, I'm not worried about doing that. Like I'm not. But I always, like, in the breakfast, we a couple of times a week we'll have something cooked, because the other guys on the farm, we always give them breakfast. So my daughter always is making pancakes, like she's trying to do it every day. So that creates quite a mess, but I'm letting go of that one. But we've always got eggs, and she makes cakes quite a lot. I'm not so much of a baker, actually. I did do sourdough for a while But then you just get out of it, don't you? And then it's, it's starting again.
You have to get into the mindset, don't you? And the timings and making things in advance. And so it can be a bit onerous. No, I know exactly what you mean with, balancing those kind of hot meals, but also trying to do something really quick as well, and not feeling guilty. I mean, I try and post on my blog about, the kids are just having, nuggets and alpha bites tonight, because I just don't have time. And I don't think we should feel guilty about that. But equally, when we do have the opportunity to produce something really nutritious, and especially using produce from the farm as well, and so presumably like the mince you're using is from your own livestock,
so good.
And you can really taste the difference, can't you? It's not so watery, and
it goes a lot further. You don't need as much, and you can add, I put in mine, I always grate carrot into it. I can grate courgette into it. Grating stuff just makes it invisible. So easy. Just grate stuff into it. I can get sort of loads of vegetables into it without them even realizing.
Yeah.
And then lots of tinned tomatoes and vegetable stock cube. And then, then away, top up.
Yeah.
But if you've got good quality meat, then we eat meat most days, but probably less than we did, because we only really buy from people we know, or we're just a bit, because I think as producers ourselves, I think it's that conscious thing that you want to know that it's had a good life.
Yeah, definitely. And so how can people find out more about you? You're obviously on social media. Can you just sort of give us a little bit of a flavour of where you are and how people can follow?
So I probably use Instagram too much, but I am under I think you call it a handle. That's embarrassing, isn't it? Handle is farmer_in_training.
Yeah.
Because people say, oh, you should change that, Sophie, because you're not in training anymore. I said, but every day is a school day on the farm. I am definitely not qualified in this. I still feel like I'm massively blagging it, but I just, it kind of stuck, and it's been there. I don't know how long I've been doing it. Maybe 5 years. So it's I've not changed it, and it's stuck. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use Twitter as much. Just Sophie B. Atlin, which is my maiden name, and then I don't really use Facebook. I think Facebook, people use it for local groups, don't they? But I just don't tend to. I have it, but I don't tend to use it. But those two. I did get into Clubhouse at one point, but that's
I think that's fizzled out a little bit, hasn't it?
It has, isn't it? Quite shouty.
Yeah, definitely. And TikTok's kind of like the next best thing, isn't it?
I feel too old for TikTok.
No,
my kids like TikTok, so I'm just a bit old for that.
No, absolutely. No, it's now your social media feed, especially your Insta feed, is really, really interesting. All the pictures and stories, you're really sort of accounting your life on a dairy farm, which is brilliant, because you don't quite know who's watching, who's following. That's the beauty of social media, and especially you're reaching out to a global audience then, aren't you? And especially getting behind some campaigns and things, it really does make a difference, I think. So I mean, definitely. Keep up the amazing work with all of that, because it is so important, and I think we've all got to stick together really, and just keep on flying the flag, and just promoting the benefits and what we're doing to manage the environment and all the things around. Here are some time-saving hacks for you to try at home. Roast dinner soup. Okay, I always seem to over cater on meat and vegetables when cooking a roast dinner on a Sunday, often because I don't know who might turn up, so there's always a meal for somebody. Now, I don't like to let anything go to waste, and so sometimes when I've got a leftover meat, I make a casserole or stir fry, or I'll put the meat into sandwiches for the next day. But have you ever thought about whizzing up all the leftover veg, meat and gravy into a tasty, warming winter soup? It's a real crowd pleaser at home, although it can be quite thick. So I often pour in some stock to make it a bit more palatable. It's entirely up to your preference, but I hate to see food waste. And this is great when making a meal go further. And obviously you can freeze that as well. In season right now, I've got loads of pumpkins and squash in my garden. I go a little bit mad growing pumpkins and squash, mainly for the kids. They love watching the pumpkins go crazy, growing all over the garden. Lots of different colours, shapes. I've got a white pumpkin called Polar Bear, which is a big hit this year. It's growing massive. I've also got plenty of butternut squash, and I love to roast it and treat it the same like you would a potato. It's also nice roasted with some rosemary, chili flakes, just to give it a little bit of a heat as well. And again, you can freeze that or have it in the fridge and have that as lunch or supper. How does that sound, Sophie?
That sounds delicious. Wow. Have you got any tips for growing pumpkins? Because I seem to have failed at that quite a lot. I haven't managed to make any pumpkins grow.
So they need a lot of water.
Okay.
So can you get them to germinate? Can you get them to germinate?
Germinate, and then they sort of go off tangent. I don't know. They just don't seem to produce an actual pumpkin. Get the sort of green bit, and then not really anymore.
Mine have gone absolutely mad all over my garden. In fact, the whole of the bottom end of my garden, you just can't get down there because they've just grow like triffids out everywhere. Yeah. I normally pot them up, get their roots in the pot really well established before planting them out. And then you've got to be careful not to plant them out until after the frosts. So you can't plant them out till like the beginning of June. And then you've got to be careful of the slugs because the slugs will just absolutely wipe them out. And then once they get going, just make sure that they have a drop to drink regularly because they are quite thirsty. Once they get going, they're fine. But it's that first bit when you put them out that they can go either way. So that's the top tip really from me, because it's just something that I enjoy doing because I get the kids involved in that side of things, and they love
lovely.
it. Yeah, so
such a versatile, isn't it? Versatile crop to have. Like, and also they don't go off, do they? Like no. Courgette, you pick them, and then within like a few, not that long, you've got to use it up. Whereas the squash, they last longer, don't they? After?
You can just leave them in a shed or something and overwinter them. You just got to be careful with the temperature change because sometimes they can go a bit moldy or what have you. But that's one of the reasons why I sort of try and store them and then use them as and when. Or they can be a little bit of a faff in terms of actually like chopping them up and using them. But once you sort of get into a bit of a habit of doing it, it is so satisfying, especially when you know that you've grown something and involve your children with it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is all we've got time for today. Don't forget to tune into the next episode of the Countryside Kitchen Meets on the 1st of each month. You can subscribe on all major podcast streaming platforms and get in touch. Would you like to be on a future episode? Want to drop me a line and share me some recipes, suggestions, anything, just drop me a line because I'd love to hear from you. It's just a really nice community to be a part of. So drop me a line. My email is hello@millyfyfe.com. And you can also follow me on my food blog, No Fuss Meals for Busy Parents, on Facebook, Instagram, and www.nofussmealsforbusyparents.com for top tips, time-saving hacks, and recipe ideas. And also meet the producer as well, because I'm really keen on shining a light on people around the UK that are doing amazing things, but perhaps don't have the time to really promote what they're doing. So I'm just trying to give everyone a helping hand and make people aware of what's happening in their area. But Sophie, thank you so much for joining me. It's been incredible chatting to you. Keep up the amazing work because I'm just going to follow you with so much interest.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Milly. It's been really fun.
Great. All right. Well, have a good rest of the day and don't work too hard. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. And
Bye-bye.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Brilliant. See you.